Okay. How y'all doing? Welcome back. Welcome back to Blackbird News, where everything is connected. What's going on? Oh, I posted my video late today. That's why nobody's here on YouTube, or they're telling me nobody's here on YouTube. It's a little unbelievable, but whatever. Whatever. By the way, if you're waiting for the notification that I'm going to go live from YouTube, they're notorious for not sending that, or sending it very late, or taking a long time to send that. So, my suggestion is that you just be here at noon, because I do my show like every single day at noon, pretty much every single day. So, no need to wait for a notification. But welcome everybody. We're live on Callin, Rockfin, and on YouTube. Callin people are here, right on. Callin people are present. Some Rockfin people are present. That's good. Gonna talk about this and that. Poppy sent me a couple of interesting things. Sorry. We'll grant Poppy the official researcher for Black Bear News title. She does send me a lot of really good things, so thanks, Poppy. I appreciate it. Let's see. Well, this was something that's been a kind of a constant topic of our conversations over the last few years. But recently, actually more so in the last year or two, really becoming very apparent that something is different with the weather. And, I know that people have lots of explanations for it. Some outlandish, some not so outlandish. But if scientists have been telling you for 30 or 40 years, that it's going to get warmer if we keep pumping carbon into the atmosphere, and then we don't actually stop pumping carbon in the atmosphere, and we don't actually level off, we don't regulate it, we actually double and triple it and quadruple it, and we just do more and more of it, and then 30 or 40 years later it starts getting warmer. Well, it might be the thing that the scientists predicted long ago, right, happening a little sooner than expected. Why? Because we doubled, tripled, and quadrupled our output of carbon. Right, that would be the Occam's razor explanation, which would be the stupidly obvious explanation for it, which is that somebody told you this might happen, and then it happened, and you're like, now you got another idea about it. Or now you want to say maybe it's not so bad, or maybe we have answers. I don't know, we'll talk about some of the answers, but let's talk about this first. Great thread about abnormally warm winters in various places. Poppy says, I'll add Southwest Missouri. This is a cool thread. Doomer Girl News. This is not normal. A La Nina year without a snowstorm in Rhode Island is looking more and more likely. The ground never froze. The spring birds are already returning. My anxiety is through the roof. We are so doomed. Yeah, that is, I guess that's pretty rare, right? A La Nina year without a snowstorm in Rhode Island. Has there been snow yet in the city of New York? I actually can't believe that there's absolutely nobody watching on YouTube right now. This is, or maybe they're hiding my video. That seems really weird. I did post the show late, but not that late. Anyways, maybe people will find it. I hope. Anyways, has New York City itself gotten a snowstorm this year yet? Stan Willenbring says, I've been hiking and working outdoors in a t-shirt all week. Yes, I live in Virginia, but I'm in the Western Highlands and mountains, and it's February. This is our La Nina. Get ready for El Nino. Yeah, it's been unseasonably warm in a lot of places. There's been a marked lack of snow in many places. Maybe I just need to refresh my YouTube. I can't see my stream. Is anybody on YouTube and commenting? I can't tell. Oh, okay, let me find out if I can ask a Rockfin chat. Rockfinners, if any of you are on YouTube, are people chatting in YouTube and I just can't see it? You've got 10 on YouTube. Okay, that's why. Hold on, let me I'm going to refresh my stream and hopefully it won't bung it up. Here we go. Hi, now I'm back. Cool. Got people from all over the globe watching. That's great. She says Doomer Girl says, for me, ocean heat is the cause. Also seems to be the case for you, though it's less. So she says there's ocean heat near where she lives. Currently 63 Fahrenheit in Rhode Island. That is actually like summer weather, right? Or spring weather in Rhode Island. Somebody else says in Toronto, Canada, it is pouring rain, and it is February, so it's a little warm for Canada, right? Canada geese flying overhead this morning. It's not yet 10 a.m. and it's already 37 Fahrenheit. Canada, it's supposed to be cold, eh? It's supposed to be cold in February. Northern New Jersey says I was outside wearing a t-shirt about half an hour ago. 60 degrees and sunny. Yeah, and I'll tell you, in LA, it's not unheard of to have a warm few couple of days in February. It's actually not a strange thing, but it has been quite warm the last 2 days. And the funny thing is, the Skyriders are out today in full force. So yesterday, it was sunny, very clear skies. Let me tell you, these 2 days, yesterday and today, are identical. Literally carbon copies of each other, like just a typical sunny Southern California day. Beautiful weather, clear skies, little tiny breeze, but not too much. Yesterday we got up to about 80 degrees. And so, and it was like almost like warm, like, oh geez, it's getting a little bit, it's a little hot. It got up to 80 degrees by my thermometer in my studio. And today, it's literally the carbon copy of yesterday, and it's hot. I'm wearing a t-shirt. It's hot. It's warm in my studio. It feels, great, about perfect. But the Skyriders are out. They're like, we can't have this, It's literally a carbon copy, right? So I want the scientists, the scientific explainers to let me know that this, the conditions are such that, no, the conditions yesterday were the same. Exactly the same, and there wasn't one contrail in the sky. Not cloud, contrail. There are no clouds in the sky today. No clouds. Everything that's in the sky today is a contrail. There are no clouds. I know this because I know what they look like. Contrails that stay in the air for a long time and they spread out and become something that looks like clouds, but they look spidery and weird. And so there's not one cloud in the sky. There are a bunch of contrails in the sky today, because maybe people might freak out if it's 85 degrees today. And there's a good number of spread out contrails right in front of the sun, of course, because that's always where they happen. And I'm sure, back in the day I would have like, I'm an airplane pilot, and let me tell you, I know about meteorology, and let me tell you, this is why. I'm like, no, I don't. I'm sorry, I don't believe you. It sounds sciencey and stuff, your explanation, but it's just, Oh. Okay, hold on. Check my mic. Hold on, guys. Okay, are we back? Sorry about the crackle. Thank you for letting me know. Denver Attaway says, I think more and more chemtrails are our dumbass attempt to stop unsustainable UVs, and they have known this is coming. Just a hunch. I absolutely agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. I think that's what's happening. It seems obvious. Well, that's another Occam's razor moment for me, right? It seems obvious that, you know, if it's super clear and but it's going to be hot, you know, kind of warm, uncomfortably warm or unseasonably warm, and you know, all of a sudden, you know, there's just boom, 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 contrails all over the place, just hanging right in front of the sun. You know, or they track the sun across the sky all day. You know, they're in other places in the sky. They're not just in front of the sun, but they're kind of tracking the sun. They're right in front of the sun. I'm like, oh, that seems very coincidental. Interesting. Somebody tried to explain to me that it was because the sun made more moisture. Right where the sun was is hotter, and it made more moisture. That way, the clouds are condensing in front of the sun. I was like, doesn't the sun burn the clouds off? Like, hasn't that through history, historically, that's what happens. The sun comes out and it burns off the moisture because it's hot. So, you know, I love that somebody gave me a backwards explanation of like what everybody historically has known to be true about what happens to clouds, right? Is that if it's hot enough or the clouds are thin enough, you know, the sun generally just burns off the clouds, right? The sun doesn't create clouds because, it's evaporation and more moisture. And what? No, that's not right. Like, but you know, the guy was going for it, just like going full on. Oh yeah, I'm like, yeah, no, nope, does not convince me. I'm sorry, because it's just kind of like, you know, if your sciencey explanations of things are getting in the way of just like kind of obvious Occam's razor kind of observations, then your sciencey explanation might hold some weight. Maybe, I don't know. It's just funny. It's funny to me that there was not one cloud in the sky yesterday, and now there are no clouds in the sky. But there are lots of contrails, lots and lots of contrails. All of a sudden. Anyways. New York City says 60 Fahrenheit in mid-February. Yeah. All right, let's move on to another story that is weird. This is how we're going to supposedly... Yeah, Poppy Davis, aren't there a billion planes a day in L.A.? Yeah, there are. Again, that's what flies in the face of... Well, it's the no contrails that actually proves my theory for me, right? It's not the contrails that proves my theory. It's the no contrails, right? There are a billion planes in the sky. So why would yesterday is a, Thursday. Why would a Thursday be any different than a Friday for plane traffic in LA? It's not. Let me tell you, it's not. So if the same conditions are present, absolutely the same. There's nothing different about today than there was yesterday. Not temperature, humidity, anything. Absolute same conditions. Wouldn't the billions of planes in the sky yesterday create a couple of contrails? Why a couple of contrails or no contrails, not one, yesterday, and today 100? It doesn't make any sense. Sorry. I know there are people out there that would be like, well, yeah. The layers and the strata and the atmosphere and the whatever. Yeah, I know, Poppy. I know where you're going with this, but I'm sorry. It just doesn't hold any water. It doesn't hold water to me. And that's a pun if you're talking about moisture in the air. Again, though, right? Since through millennia, right? What happens when the sun comes out? There's some clouds, but it starts to get hot. The sun burns away the clouds. It burns away those clouds. If those clouds are not super, you know, it'll chase those clouds out of the sky. The sun beats down, sends that moisture packing. I don't know. It's just not a vibe. To me, I'm not like, oh, I know this for a fact. I'm just saying it doesn't make logical sense. And I tell the story, and I guess I'll tell it again from years ago when Trump Trump was first president, and for years I had conversations every single day with friends, family, people who noticed that there was a kind of just a constant barrage of contrails in the sky, and we would have conversations about it, and I would notice it. I paid attention to it. Yeah, I know, Poppy, but I'm sorry. It just doesn't. It doesn't. I'm saying the conditions were the same yesterday as they are today. So that it actually proves your theory. If your theory is right, it proves your theory wrong, right? Because if the conditions were there yesterday, there should have been some contrails. If the conditions are there today for contrails, there should have been there yesterday, or a few, or a couple. But I didn't see one. So theory blown. Sorry. Theory blown. And here's to go on with my story. Like, years ago, people would comment, constant contrails, and I noticed them. I looked in the sky, I watched the sky. Other people would watch the sky. We would have conversations. What are they doing up there? What's going on? All kinds of people, like, literally family members, friends, a bunch of people. We would comment. We would look in the sky. We'd notice the stuff, comment on it, and it was there all the time. It was, I know, Poppy, I'm sorry. You're not going to convince me, Poppy. You're not. I mean, and I've heard this explanation, and I don't buy it. So, it was a constant thing in LA, that, because billions of planes in the sky all the time, right? It would make perfect sense. There's billions of planes in the sky every single day. So why not? Why not have contrails? Yeah, I know, but it still doesn't, I'm just saying that if the conditions are, anyways, let me go on with my story. There's billions of planes in the sky in LA. We know this, right? I used to have conversations with my friends and family. They would leave all these trails in the sky all the time. And when Trump became president, right after he took office, we had no contrails for months. And I was like, psh, they're making them. It was the no contrails for me. It was the no contrails for me that convinced me that something was going on, right? Because billions of planes in the sky, you would think that the conditions would be present, on at least a couple of those days, for a week or two. Right? You would think that you would see you would think that you would see some contrails over the span of 3 months. I didn't see one contrail for 3 months, and I was like, case closed in my mind. I was like, case closed, because there's billions of planes in the sky. The conditions in LA are very, there are many days in which the conditions are right. We have a Mediterranean weather system. We have, in LA, the reason why people love LA is because exactly creative experiments. Trump forgot to sign the contrail funding. I was wondering what it meant, though. I didn't know what it means. But what I'm saying is, LA has a very stable, why people love to live here and move here is because the weather doesn't, it gets a little hot in the summer. It gets a little cold in the winter, but mostly the weather is very the same, right? It's very stable, right? So the conditions for the contrails or the forming of contrails would probably be, it would be more likely that there would be similar days, similar patterns, similar weather going on, right? Especially in Los Angeles over a period of time. Does that sound logical to you guys? Okay. So if you have the conditions for daily contrails for years, and then all of a sudden you get a 3 month break with absolutely no contrails in Los Angeles, where the weather doesn't, you know, is often produces the same kind of conditions, then it just doesn't make any sense to me. Anyways, well, that's interesting, Denver, because when you look up, I didn't mean to actually get way off in this conversation. I will change over to another story. Let's let this be the end of this, and this is my fault. When you look up, it's hard to judge the height of contrails that you may see in the sky above. Airplanes are flying between 25,000 and 50,000 feet. Right, but that's the thing. I absolutely know that a lot of these clouds are not that high up. A lot of these clouds are not that high up. I'm just saying, I have questions. Yes, Denver. That's what I'm trying to say. You observe contrails on a much lower altitude. I do too. I'm like, they're at cloud level and planes are flying above the clouds. What's up with the cloud level contrails? Why are yeah. Yeah, I could go on and on. Anyways. I mean, Poppy, I'm not saying that you are wrong. I'm just saying I've heard that explanation before, and it doesn't line up with, to me, in my mind. I'm not saying that you are wrong. I'm just saying it doesn't line up in a logical way in my mind. Anyways, I think that they have been for a long time. Trying to keep things somewhat stable, right? All right. Let's move to another story before it gets really way out of hand with the time. It was another story from Poppy. Hold on. A solution to the climate crisis: mining the moon. Apparently, they think that they're going to shoot like a cannon or something at the moon. And blow some dust up. Are you following me? Blow some dust into space, and it's gonna. I don't really understand the logic of this, because you're gonna create like a. You're gonna create like a cloud of dust that will shield the Earth. Okay, let's read this. Proponents of a moonshot idea to deal with global heating have been handed a new, very literal interpretation by researchers who have proposed firing plumes of moon dust from a gun. Oh, they're going to fire moon dust into space from a gun. Into space. In order to deflect the sun's rays away from the Earth. The seemingly outlandish concept outlined in a new research paper would involve creating a solar shield in space. Oh, not only are they not going to, this is saying that they're going to mine. I read another article about shooting a cannon at the moon. A cannon shot. Which, wouldn't that be about the same? Anyways, they're going to mine the moon for millions of tons of dust. First of all, I got to laugh. First of all, I want to laugh. Because, yeah. Again, this, maybe. It's a funny idea. Mine the moon, millions of tons of dust, and then ballistically ejecting it to a point in space about 1 million miles from Earth, where the floating grains would partially block incoming sunlight. Is there a way that it would stay in place? That's my first. My first question is, how do you know it's going to stay there? A really exciting part of our study was a realization that the natural lunar dust grains are just the right size and composition for efficiently scattering sunlight away from the Earth, said Ben Bromley, a theoretical astrophysicist at the University of Utah who led the research published in PLOS Climate. Since it takes much less energy to launch these grains from the moon's surface as compared with the Earth launch, the moonshot idea really stood out for us. Bromley and two other researchers considered a variety of properties, including coal and sea salt, that could dim the sun by as much as 2% if fired into space. Well, maybe we'll get there. Oh, this is it. The moon dust would have to be continually propelled into space in order to take the edge off global heating. Continually propelled into space. Well, we're going to get to that, Judy Truitt. Yeah, I don't think you need to read that one, Poppy. We're going to get to that, Judy Truitt. It would. Oh my God. However, or risk a so-called termination if they didn't continually propel it into space. They would risk a so-called termination shock, whereby temporary cooling is abruptly stopped and the world is left to rapidly heat up. Well, that's global dimming, right? Which is going to happen anyways. Bromley insisted that the research sci-fi idea is no substitute for the primary task of cutting planet heating emissions in the first place. Well, why don't we get on that? Is anybody going to get on that? Anyways, tinkering with the world's climate, including attempts to reflect sunlight, is a controversial and still relatively fringe response to a climate crisis. It has gained some traction in repeated warnings that countries are not slashing emissions quickly enough to prevent disaster. However, with the U.S. government launching a research project around the concept, that's a knee slapper right there. We're going to look into this. Okay. Sure. You do that. Let me know how that goes. Anyways, there seems to be a bit of an uptick of interest in space-based geoengineering schemes more broadly. They were long dismissed as wildly impractical due to technical and cost considerations, but my impression is that the ongoing reduction of launch costs is piquing people's interest. So it's all about the price. It's all about the price, right? Who's going to pay for it? Okay. Opponents of solar geoengineering, whether on Earth or in space, argue that it is an unhelpful and potentially dangerous distraction from the urgent imperative to transition away from burning fossil fuels. Yeah. But how about we get back to the old cutting the fossil fuels thing? Huh? Or maybe technology is going to save us. I don't know. Are we on our way to salvation from technology, or are we deluding ourselves? It's a question, not necessarily debated in this chat, but it's still out there. A lot of people feel like things have never been better. Oh, thank you, Baram Radmanesh. Gave me a tip on Rockfin. Thanks, Baram. Appreciate it. Yeah, Denver says just a few days ago, my sister was set designing for a movie in northern Massachusetts, and the temp was negative 20 Fahrenheit. Things ain't right. Bit of a weather whiplash going on. Yep. Nadia says the energy isn't going to be there to do the tech solution to the greenhouse effect because of peak oil everything. Obsolete Optics says chemtrail deniers are just as bad as climate change deniers. Like, if global warming is real and happening, don't you think they'd do something to try to mitigate that, whether overtly or covertly? Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you. Well, and the fact that they don't know how it works already is so funny to me. Every time I hear them saying, we're going to research this problem and we're going to do a test next year in Sweden and we're going to, we're going to have a company launch some things in Mexico to see how, okay. Come on, man. If you think the military or, powers that be haven't completely, studied this inside and out and already have all the variables worked out, I mean, come on, man. Again, in my mind, that seems silly, but all right, I want to move on to some other subjects, and actually they might take me away from YouTube, and I know some people might be sad about that. But before I go, I'm going to talk about this tweet. And here's some hopium dreams for you from this tweet. If this makes me an extremist, fine, but I really want to dig up all the roads and replace them with community vegetable gardens, fruit, tree, forests, wildflowers, solar-powered safety lights, and magical playgrounds. I don't know about this last part. Made from melted plastic and old billionaires. I mean cars. I don't know about the melted plastic thing. Or the, solar power streetlights, I guess, sure. Scott Andrews says, shield out the sunlight so we can go on overpopulating and polluting the planet. Right. Anyways, I like the first part, though. Dig up all the roads and replace them with community vegetable gardens and forests and wildflowers. We'll just stop there. Why don't we just stop there? Yeah, I want to talk about some other things, and you know what that means. And parking lots, says Creative Experiments. Yeah. The biggest enemy of the planet is infrastructure, and yet that's all that people can talk about when they're saying, that we're going to fix the climate crisis by building more infrastructure or changing the infrastructure or switching infrastructure or making infrastructure more resilient. No, that's the problem. Stop building. Just stop it. Stop with the answers already to the things. The answer is get that infrastructure out of here. All right. Anyways, YouTubers, we're going to jump off and talk about things that YouTube doesn't want people talking about. I'm sorry, it's short. But we've been here for a good half hour. Oh, real quickly, just letting you all know, you know the thing, you know the deal. BuyMeACoffee.com/BlackBearNews is a good way to support the show. Rockfin is a great way to support the show. YouTube super chats are also very cool. I've got links for Venmo and Cash App. And thank you to all my Patreoners. Okay. YouTube, sayonara. We'll see you on Rockfin, ROKFIN.com. You can watch me for free there. You don't even have to make an account. All right. Peace out.